discussions that we have formally and the discussions that happen over dinner or walking in the woods, I think those sorts of discussions are the ones where I find more and more that my academic life and the rest of my life aren't separate things. They're one thing.
So it's really exciting to be able to work on projects with students that they are very passionate about, and to be able to share what I'm passionate about, and for all of us to be able to talk about what we really think.
We were a group of friends who did a lot of paddling of canoes around the Boundary Waters canoe area with college students, and discovered that if you get a group of students together outside the classroom or in a little bit more of a continuous living situation, get to know them, you begin to hear their real questions. We came up with this idea to have a college program. We were all from the Midwest or the East, and we thought, well, let's try the West. We found this property here in Southern Oregon. We came along just in time to grab it up as a whole, keep it together, borrowed money from all of our friends and family, and a little bit from the school, and bought the place and came out here the summer of '75 with hammers and saws and gradually renovated this place to the point where it could actually support human habitation.
This area, referred to as the Klamath-Siskiyou ecoregion, has probably the most complex, or one of the most complex terrains geologically on the face of the earth. It also, and partly because of the geology, is one of the 2 or 3 most important biodiversity hotspots in the United States. Within about a 3-hour drive of Lincoln, students will encounter high desert. Students can find glaciers on Mount Shasta. Students can find the Oregon Caves, the Pacific Coast, redwood forest, some of the richest temperate Doug fir forest in the world, as well as the deepest lake in the United States, Crater Lake. And so these questions, and seeing sort of a diversity of ideas, they see perhaps how that relates to different natural landscapes.
What's different here is we study in blocks, and that means each course is studied by itself for 3.5 weeks with nothing competing with it, no other courses. The first segment's on the natural world, the second segment is on the social world, third segment is on the human person, and the fourth segment is on the religious world. During what we call the core phase of a segment, which is the first week and a half of each segment, a typical day would be students show up with faculty at 9 o'clock in the morning in the library for a lecture that will have some relationship to the previous day's reading. Mid-morning we'll take a break, then we'll go out into small discussion groups, students and faculty, discuss the previous day's reading, and at 12:30 every day the students have completed their classroom work and have the rest of the day until 9 o'clock the next morning to do the reading for the following day.
And for about 2 weeks at a time, all of us are reading the same books together, all the faculty and all the students. After lecture every day at about 11:30, we have small discussion groups. 1 faculty member and 4 to 6 students meet in a faculty person's home, and they talk about the reading from that night, and they also talk about any ideas, questions, things that spring up in their mind related to that reading or the conversation or the lecture. Those conversations can be free-ranging, or sometimes they're pretty focused, but either way I think they help foster that sense that what we're trying to do is have a conversation about ideas and about what matters, not just figure out what the book was about and see if we can master that.
Small groups are one of my favorite parts of being at the OE. We do a significant amount of reading of really meaningful books, and during small groups we get a chance to discuss everything we've read. We come together in the professors' houses and share coffee and tea, and it's just a beautiful thing because I'm reading the book and I'm thinking one thing, whereas someone brings something else just totally different and unique to the table.
The best small groups are the ones where we end up going somewhere where we didn't expect to go at the beginning. We might start talking about some of the ideas in the book or some of the characters in the books we've been reading, but eventually it collides with our lives, and it collides with other books we've been reading and things we've heard in lecture and things we've experienced in our cabins and just here in the West on our trips and spending time on the mountain.
And then on the weekends, we try not to assign reading. The only time students have reading on the weekends is during project weeks, to give a break from that sort of intense pace.
Well, the weekends are great. They're so much fun, so relaxing. You can just do whatever. So you sleep in, maybe read a book, hang out for a little bit. It's just very, very slow and relaxed. You do go to town, which is always a big deal. You know, everyone gets all dressed up, and town is really cool, and there's a lot of restaurants and stuff that people go to. You can hang out or walk around. There's some parks.
There's also a lot of weekend trips that we try and squeeze in, just to give students more chance to explore the West. So last winter we went snowshoeing and cross-country skiing at Crater Lake, which was one of the most beautiful weekends I've ever had. And we usually go on a camping trip early in the semester. So last year we went to Lava Beds National Monument, and we explored lava tubes, which are these caves underground that are just breathtaking, and got to explore the rugged Western landscape. At the end of each of those segments is when you move into doing the independent research project, where you work one-on-one with a faculty person on a subject matter that you get to choose. Often you've talked with your advisor back at home and you come with a list of the sorts of things you need to get credit in, or if you don't have specific things you need to get credit in, you can develop a project about anything that sparks your interest during the segment. So you work one-on-one with a faculty person, you put together a list of books, you meet every day with that faculty person and just talk about what you're reading, where your ideas are leading you, and that helps to develop the paper that you're working towards.
The projects have been great, especially you get to spend a whole week with one professor and really develop a relationship with that person, and also just go very in-depth and in detail into a field that they know a lot about. So you have this week-long personal relationship that you develop, and also a week of asking questions about a really specific topic that then you get to talk to your peers about. You hear all week at your cabins and at dinner about other people's projects, and then you come together at the end and you share, and suddenly you understand what they've been talking about all week. It can be a lot of fun.
After each segment, we take a break so that students have time to kind of process the work they've done, but also relax a bit and hang out with their fellow students and professors. And the first trip is the most significant one, perhaps in some ways, because it is a 5 or 6 day backpacking trip. And we get out into the backcountry of Oregon or California and take 5 or 6 days of hiking and camping and just being together.
The second trip we took this year was to the Oregon coast, which for me as a East Coaster was a huge deal. It felt really strange to be looking at the Pacific Ocean and then just to get down there and run around on the beach for a couple days and take a book with you and spend each night out at the tide pools was fantastic. Not something I would get to experience at home, certainly not any of the other programs that I was looking at coming out. Just a really deliberate attempt to get us out to see what the West Coast actually looks like and just to be in the place. And a break from the academics. We had a great time.
And our third excursion, which is in November, we go down to San Francisco, and we rent a whole building at a youth hostel that's right on the bay, right under the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. And the students have 4 days to explore the city, to immerse themselves in one of the great cities of the West Coast.
These trips are meant to be time away from academic work, but it's also time when we do continue to think and talk about ideas if they're pressing on our minds, or just a chance to share our lives with each other in a different kind of setting.
Well, Lincoln is beautiful. It's on the Green Springs Mountain, which is not far from Ashland. And it's just really conducive to community because we're all so close together. The professors' houses are not too far from the cabins, which is not too far from the library where we have class. And so just the physicality of the location allows for great community.
It's been wonderful getting to know my cabin mates. It's nice to share rhythms with people. Rhythms of learning, rhythms of conversation, rhythms of making things, of participating together in both academic life and personal lives and eating, especially eating. That's always good.
I've always been looking forward to a next point in my life, and I'll say, you know, everything's going to be great when I get to that point. And it is really great, but then when I'm there, I'm already looking forward to the next point in my life, and I realize I'm not living now, I'm not living each day. And coming to that realization, I think, has the potential to be so valuable to me, where I appreciate the time in between and the time now. And I think that this community has allowed me to do that, because we slow down and we live deliberately, and I can appreciate every day a little more.
In the classroom, religious faith is not always in the foreground, but it's never fully out of view. Whether we're studying the local ecosystem, the history of the wilderness movement, regions of intense political conflict in the world, science fiction, the philosophy of happiness, or 19th century Russian lit, all of these things are bearers of meaning and contain records that humans have made of their trust and disillusionment in the world as they've received it. Religious questions can shed light on this and on what is behind it, and what has driven others and what drives us. Outside of the classroom, in the students' cabins, or on our excursions together, and in conversations with professors, the OE is a place where students see different ways to be persons of faith and examine what big things might be worth believing and committing themselves to.
I feel as though all the faculty and the students are able to talk about more than just a subject. They're able to ask questions about their life. They're able to connect that to the readings and to the projects that they're doing. And that was something I always wanted to be able to do as a professor, was talk to my students about their lives, talk to them about what's on their mind and in their hearts, as well as what they're trying to learn.